I accidentally started dating my divorce client's wife without knowing who she was because she used a different name socially, then found out at our settlement meeting when we all walked into the same room, so now I'm the coffee shop lawyer with a disciplinary record. Posted by you/May, not, be lawyer for long. This happened a couple months back, but I saw a skit online that was scarily similar to what actually happened to me IRL. For context, I'm a divorce attorney. Been practicing for about 8 years now, mostly family law stuff. Generally pretty routine work, people want to untangle their lives, I help them do it legally, everyone moves on. Let's flash back to last March. I took on what seemed like a straightforward dissolution case. Client I'll call Dave, nice enough guy, been separated from his wife for over a year, just wanted to make it official. Nothing complicated, decent retainer, figured we'd have it wrapped up in a few months. Dave seemed reasonable, not one of those vindictive types trying to burn everything down out of spite. Around the same time, I'd been seeing this woman Sarah for a couple months. Met her at a coffee shop near my office, really hit it off. She mentioned going through a divorce, but I didn't pry, not exactly first date conversation, you know? She had a different last name from what was in my client files, so when I ran my conflict checks, nothing flagged. Everything was going great with Sarah. Really great, actually. We were taking things slow, but it was heading in a good direction. Until we scheduled the first four-way settlement meeting. I walk into the conference room with Dave, chatting about keeping things amicable, and there's Sarah sitting across the table with her attorney. I literally just stopped mid-sentence. My briefcase slipped right out of my hands and hit the floor with this loud thud. Sarah went completely white. Dave looked back and forth between us for what felt like an eternity, and I could see the exact moment it clicked for him. Are you kidding me right now? He says. Not shouting, but definitely not pleased. Sarah started tearing up. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. I'm standing there feeling like the biggest moron in legal history. Had to immediately excuse myself with Dave. Guy was understandably upset. Started grilling me, how long had this been going on? Did I know who she was? Was this some kind of setup to screw him over? I'm trying to explain that I'd been dating his wife for a couple months without having any clue who she was. He didn't buy it at first. What kind of lawyer doesn't ask basic questions? He keeps saying. Had to pull out my intake notes to prove the name thing, show him how the conflict check works, basically convince an angry client that I'm incompetent rather than malicious. Took about 20 minutes before he finally believed it was just spectacularly bad luck. Even then, he's shaking his head, muttering about how messed up this whole situation is. I explained I'd have to withdraw from his case and help him find new counsel. There's no getting around it, I've got a personal relationship with the opposing party, which makes it impossible for me to represent him properly. By the end, he'd calmed down enough to say this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. Still wasn't happy about starting over with a new lawyer, but he understood why it had to happen. The paperwork was a nightmare. Had to file a motion to withdraw since we were already in litigation, transfer all his files, deal with refunding unused fees. Sarah and I didn't speak for 2 weeks after that meeting, we were both mortified. Her attorney spent forever trying to convince himself this wasn't some elaborate scheme. Even though nobody intended for this to happen, it was still my screw-up. Should have had better procedures to catch conflicts like this. Doesn't matter that it was an accident, you mess up the conflict check, you deal with the consequences. Dave texted me a few weeks later, but it wasn't friendly. More like hope you realize this completely messed up my timeline. Can't say I blame him. And just to add insult to injury, my malpractice insurance premium went up when I had to report the conflict. Relevant comments. Commenter, I mean you did waste a lot of his money on whatever time you spent that the new lawyer would have to redo. Did you and Sarah at least continue dating afterwards? Ops response, Sarah used another name socially that Dave had not disclosed. Her file had her legal name. Our check didn't catch it and I didn't connect the dots. Her and I's relationship was less emotionally involved to keep it brief. I've been overworked and dealing with more than a full caseload. Yes, I could have done better at preventing this from happening. This was a major FU. On her end, I don't think she knew based on her reaction as well as her being a workaholic too. Pretty much all communication had been directly between me and her counsel. No, her and I did not continue seeing each other for obvious reasons. Also, not a bot. Made a throwaway specifically so this would not be traced back to me or my firm. Ops response on another post, I don't fault Dave at all. I was sleeping with his wife while representing him, there's no version of that where I'm the victim. It doesn't matter that I didn't know who she was at first. By the time I figured it out, the damage was already done. He had real things riding on that case, money, time, his business, and my withdrawal blew up his timeline. I can say it wasn't intentional, but that doesn't mean it didn't wreck him. He had every right to hate me for it. Update, 2 months later. So it's been about 7 months since the conference room incident, and people have been asking what happened. Short answer, it's been a mess. About 3 weeks after I withdrew from Dave's case, I got called into a meeting with the senior partners. 3 partners, our firm's general counsel, and a rep from our malpractice carrier on video call. The managing partner slides a folder across the table. Opposing counsel reported a conflict of interest issue to the state bar under Rule 8.3. We've been notified of a disciplinary inquiry. Oh no. Dave's new attorney filed the report. They don't get to decide what happens, they just report potential violations and the bar takes it from there. I have to explain everything. How I met Sarah, how we'd been casually dating for a couple months, how she used a different name socially, how my conflict check on her legal name didn't flag anything because I never connected the dots. The general counsel is taking notes. Walk me through your conflict check process. I explain the intake procedures, how the system works, how Sarah's legal surname didn't match what she'd told me. It sounds worse when I say it out loud. This is a clear model rule 1.7a, 2, issue, material limitation conflict, the general counsel says. You were correct to withdraw under rule 1.16, but we need to understand how this wasn't caught earlier. The malpractice carrier rep unmutes. We'll need to document this as a circumstance that could lead to a claim. It'll be noted when your policy comes up for renewal. Great. The firm mandates that I complete an 8-hour CLE on conflicts of interest before taking any new client intakes. They've already registered me for a seminar that Saturday. 8 a.m., of course. I show up at a hotel conference room with about 20 other attorneys. One of the instructors is Patricia, a divorce attorney I've opposed a few times. She definitely knows why I'm there based on the look she gave me. Most of the morning is standard material, rules, case law, procedures. Then we get to case studies and Patricia brings up Henri Johnson, a 2019 disciplinary matter. Attorney representing a divorce client starts dating someone, turns out to be the opposing party, discovers it at a settlement conference. Same exact situation as mine from 6 years ago in a different state, and I wanted to sink through the floor. At lunch, another attorney mentions he heard about something similar happening at a firm in town recently. Doesn't know it's me, but clearly the story's getting around. I finish the seminar, pass the exam, bring the certificate back to the firm. A few weeks later, the bar sends a letter. The inquiry is closed with a private caution, basically a warning that stays in their files but isn't public discipline. Could have been worse. My malpractice premium went up about 15% when it renewed in September. The carrier cited the reported disciplinary circumstance in the renewal letter. The firm implemented some new procedures for me specifically. For the next 6 months, I have to get conflicts pre-cleared by the general counsel before taking on any new client. They also added mandatory AKA/nickname fields to our intake forms and conflict check system. The worst part isn't the official stuff though. It's that people know. Not everyone, but enough. I've been called the coffee shop lawyer twice at bar events. Last month opposing counsel asked if I'd met the other party before with this look on her face. The story's definitely circulating. Some versions have me engaged to Sarah. One has me not finding out until trial. It's becoming one of those cautionary tales people tell each other. Haven't dated anyone since March. Deleted the apps. Before I did, I matched with someone who mentioned her divorce and I immediately asked who her lawyer was. She unmatched pretty quick. Can't really blame her. Dave, if you see this, I'm sorry, man. I really didn't know. I hope things worked out okay for you. Sarah, hope you're doing well. Everyone else, just ask the basic questions. Run proper conflict checks. Verify AKAs. It's not worth it. Relevant comments. Commenter, thanks for the update. Honestly, speaking from my non-lawyer brain, I think you really drew the worst hand. I don't think it's your fault and that you took the right steps when you found out. I hope this will turn into a funny story soon. I was already rooting for you after your first post. I don't think this says anything about your skills as a lawyer. Commenter, I work for lawyers and it's such a small community, even in a big city. I, without ever asking or digging, know so much dirt on so many lawyers. I know who's had the mental breakdowns, who's been to rehab, and for what, who got arrested for soliciting underage prostitutes, who knocked up their secretaries, who shot himself with a fellow lawyer's gun. And that's just the first few off the top of my head and doesn't even include the dirt I know about attorneys I've actually worked for. Man, I feel for you. But in a few years' time, it'll feel more like mythology and less like a ghost haunting you. Commenter, I'm a paralegal and this is so true. If I heard this story about an attorney I knew, I wouldn't think less of him. Attorneys dating their staff, taking intimate favors as payment, skimming from trust accounts. That stuff is way worse. Commenter, man, I don't know how long you've been an attorney, but discipline cases get so much worse than this. Stop beating yourself up. First, it was not intentional or through some incredibly basic neglect. Basic conflict checks were done and just didn't ring an alarm bell. Second, you immediately did the right things once you realized. Third, you've paid your price, man. You've done your stupid all-day CLE, all these new procedures, paid the new premiums, taken the small and temporary reputation hit. Man, you've been penalized. Stop adding more time onto your sentence. There was a local attorney who was openly dating clients, in lieu of payment, multiple times and it still took 2 years before he was finally suspended. You got zinged with a rare circumstance that let you fine-tune your conflict checks and learn a valuable lesson. You're not a fly-by-night garbage attorney. I have more experience as prosecution, but I've done enough defense work in my private practice years to give you the advice I've given self-flagellating clients. Guilt and shame are constructive, to a point. Once you've already made amends and done your time, you're benefiting nobody by beating yourself up more.